Welcome to episode 2, where we explore the psychology of liberation across South Africa, Europe, and America. This conversation unpacks how systems of justice, like South Africa's Truth and Reconciliation Commission, often elevate the voices of oppressors while silencing the oppressed. We challenge the global narrative that stereotypes Africa as poor and diseased, exposing how this distortion gaslights Africans into doubting their own capacity for transformation. Today, gaslighting has evolved into a powerful force on social media, what Professor Cooper calls anti-social media, because its impact is nothing less than the destruction of society. The consequences are profound: moral distress, erosion of agency, and global marginalization. Africans are left questioning their ability to shape their own future, while external powers continue to dictate economic and political terms. This episode is a call to recognize how denial and distortion shape the present, intensify oppression, and erode the agency of Black liberation. Join us as we confront these forces and reclaim the narrative of transformation.
Now, let us talk about the crux of the matter in psychology. Now, first of all, I understand that you played a very big role in transforming psychology in South Africa. Maybe let's talk about that briefly. Transforming it from what to Black psychology? What was it?
Well, first of all, the psychology, to become a psychologist, you have to get certain accreditation. Qualifications, minimum masters from an accredited program at an accredited university, largely South African, a few overseas. And then it was not really user-friendly to Black master's graduates. And particularly those who went into academia. So the register was overwhelmingly white, and the board for psychology at what is now the Health Professions Council was dominated by them, those who are upheld apartheid. Ironically, the register opened in 1976. Before then, there was no psychology register. There was medical professionals and dental professionals. So I send my application, and I do it while I'm in Boston, and it's rejected. Very quickly it's rejected for bringing the profession into disrepute because of my political conviction in the State versus Escupa and others, the SASO BPC trial. I respond by saying that is I just respond very briefly, noting that I'm going to go to court to set aside your rejection if you don't enroll me. And it was on the heels of the application against the Biko doctors. You recall that the Medical and Dental Council fudged the matter. The Medical and Dental Council, as well as the association, fudged the matter, and the same judge who was the judge in our case heard the matter and found that the Medical and Dental Council and SAMAD need to review the participation of those who worked as district surgeons in Port Elizabeth then, the Biko doctors. So I get a response also fairly quickly to say I've been enrolled, right, at the end of 87. So fast forward, 1994 happens, or 1990 happens, where all the organizations that were banned, and I should say, half of those organizations were black consciousness organizations, were unbanned, and then Mandela is released on the 11th of February 1990. It changes the mood in the country. Everybody wants to talk. So the discussion with Lionel Nicholas, others at the University of the Western Cape, people up here in Johannesburg and elsewhere, with the Psychological Association of South Africa, white-led, and overwhelmingly white in membership, begins with talks. Eventually, in January, towards the end of January 94, at the University of the Western Cape, a conference of amalgamation and unification of psychology happened, and the Psychological Society of South Africa is formed. And from day one, there were problems because certain groups of whites just didn't like the fact that they can be led by inferior persons, right? Meaning black, the rest of us. So they attempt to thwart some of the leadership. I stay away from elections because I'm heavily involved in other stuff then. Stopping violence in flashpoints throughout the country, political.
So you didn't engage this conference?
I spoke. I gave a keynote, but I didn't stay for the elections because I knew what's going to happen. I'm going to get roped in, and I didn't want to because there are other younger, brighter people. However, in '96, this organization falters because blacks are now staying away again, and progressive whites are also staying away. And the Afrikaners approach me and say, look, we need you as president. I say, no, I'm not going to do it. But eventually they prevail. So
the Afrikaners who invite you are the ones on the conservative side or on the progressive side?
Yes, they were anti. And I say, if you want me to stand as president, then you have to allow anybody else to stand as well, because your nominations have closed already according to the Constitution. So they put it to the AGM. It was at Wits in September 1996. And the AGM unanimously accepted that all positions will be elected. If I'm nominated, so be it with the others. And you saw immediately a black majority leadership. And from there it continued.
So, but I mean, the whole purpose of transforming psychology was not just to facelift it.
No.
It was also to change, because I want to understand what is the difference between psychology and black psychology.
Well,
because I mean, I know that even Americans actually also have that black psychology. Why is it important?
Well, look, if you go to Steve Biko's writings, as you have done, you see the psychological element in it. You read Frantz Fanon, as you have done, you see the psychological element of oppression. And it's also liberation, self-liberation, affirmation of self, not through somebody else's eyes, not through somebody else's lens. And you can't be a non of somebody else, you're a pro yourself. So that content change has begun to happen in the country, not to the extent where it's earth-shattering and identifying with the majority, which is one of the underlying problems, because it needs to affirm the majority, because you can't have a minority view being an affirmation for the majority. That's an apartheid kind of sequel, and we should avoid that. So psychology is about behavior, all behavior, animal and human. For our purposes, we should be enabling people to be on the path to self-empowerment and to reduce the inferiorization and enhance the equalization, that we are equal to anybody. And that quest for a common humanity underpins what we're calling a black consciousness psychology. Because if you're conscious of that, you can deal with any situation, and including oppressors, because then they realize, they should realize then, let me rephrase that, they should realize we're talking to the majority world, because in the language that we use internationally and in the International Union of Psychological Science, where I became the first person who was not American or Western European to be president, that's the word we use, majority world, because the minority world was the colonizing world. Europe, particularly Western Europe, Britain, North America, not Mexico, but America in particular, and to some extent Canada, because you look at all these countries that were in the Congress of Berlin, right, on the Congo River Basin, to divide Africa. These were the players. And they were all there. Some went through with their colonial possessions in Africa, as they still exist, but others haven't. So it's about turning around epistemology. What's knowledge and where does it come from? We are fortunate that we live not very far from the oldest living ethnic group in the world, the Komani San, to whom, and science will tell you this, 96% of the world's population can trace some DNA. Not just Africa, but 96% of the world's population. And the other four, it's the narrow European grouping. But Africa is the birth of humanity. However you want to look at it, it's the birth of humanity, and it remains the richest continent on earth, despite the colonization, despite the slavery, and despite continuing to extract from Africa. So out of Africa comes a lot of the world's wealth. And we need to refocus that. At a psychological level, it's equipping people to deal with the persistent onslaught on their identity, to make them doubt themselves, to make them feel that they're lesser in whatever they're doing, that they can't be equal to anybody else, maybe less pigmented, maybe more straightened hair, right? Maybe color of eyes, the colorism and so on. And we are the same. Biologically, we are the same. Siafan, ons is dieselfde. But we other each other.
On that note of, because now that's where we're coming to the gaslighting, that manipulation, excuse me, of people at political level. And as you say, in Africa, it's the richest continent on the planet, with just vast resources. But it's also a planet that is known to be poor.
Yes.
To be bedeviled by poverty and disease. And that is blamed actually on the Africans.
Blaming the victim.
Exactly. So that's why I want us then to talk about that kind of political gaslighting. First of all, how do people recognize that they've been gaslit? As a people.
I think in the moments one feels insecure about who one is, not sure that the narrative they confront from close and other people in the social and other environments, economic environments, that's the moment that one has to utilize to go to the next step. Because gaslighting has been around for
eons.
Well, for long, long time.
As a psychological tool of oppression.
As a manipulation to inferiorize, to make you insecure, and to be overcome personality-wise by somebody else for whatever purpose. In this day and age where technology is relied on, it's so easy to do that, to visit people with epistemic violence. The violence that will come through adducing that knowledge comes from the West when it doesn't. We know anthropologically and otherwise with the archaeology and so on, that all the civilizations predate whatever is Europeanism or narrow Americanism. Yet the power is with them. And so when we have these persons holding forth.
It's interesting, Prof, that you say that because lately in a lot of the interactive social media, there is a phenomenon where it looks like there's an army of bots or shady accounts that target black comments.
Absolutely.
So if I put a positive stuff about blackness, suddenly there's a flood of these bots addressing that.
Yes.
So from a psychological point of view, what is the impact of that globally now?
Well, it's also
because there's some black people do respond to that, but others just ignore, like myself. I ignore those things.
Look, when there are pigs in the gutter fighting, and you try to separate them, the stench will be on you. You'll shower 5 times, the stench will still be there. So you're avoiding that in your reaction. Others try to defend or feel that they need to please the master or mistress who has control over them, or who owns the airwaves, who owns ether out there, who has the ability to track us who make comments in that space and use it against us, because we'll have a flurry of responses to add to our insecurity, and sometimes with the names that look like they are fellow black people, and but then you also have people who want to please the prevailing narrative and not look further. In that lies death of soul, of self, of identity, of equality in human behavior, and being part of one human family, because we have the same biology. So it's intended to continue in new ways what happened during slavery, what happened during colonization, what happened during what happens during crimes against humanity, apartheid and others, where people are deliberately targeted for physical removal and obliteration, for historic and for psychological obliteration, so that we just become robotic in our reaction to these issues, because it's painful to do to fight everything.
So this, let me know if I'm correct, because it portrays a picture where black people globally are bombarded with gaslighting from all angles. There is like a sort of kind of what looks like random gaslighting that is thrown from all directions in the social media. Then there is a gaslighting that is structured within government systems.
Absolutely.
And it takes different forms from, like in Americas, it's one form, in Africa it's another form, in Europe it's another form, which maybe we'd look, but there will be general, what you call threads about that, basically what we call in terms of, so what then we see here is that the victims of gaslighting, political gaslighting, black people are in this, but they're not actively engaged themselves. But at the same time, they are being affected by this.
Oh, yes.
When you look at the black person now globally, generally, from a psychological point of view, what do you see? If it's just to look at the black, like I said in the beginning, that you know, these are people who have to defend humanity, all this. But when you look at the black person today in the world, generally speaking, what do you see from a psychological point of view?
I see the burden that black people have to carry. And the human organism is remarkable in its ability to adapt. So do I fight or do I run away from it?
Right.
And how do I fight? You can be head on and you're going to lose because there's nothing random in online and computer technology. There isn't any random factor that happens. It appears random, but it's programmed. And so as soon as you identified holding a particular view, the alerts will appear and these attacks will happen. With AI rising to new heights, it's going to become worse. There will be, you know, if you ask for a definition of black consciousness or Biko or Fanon, they'll give you certain stuff. And if you persist with that, and in any of your device, because the default position is the platform and their AI, you're going to get targeted in other ways on whichever tech platform you use to communicate with supposedly like-minded people, your chat groups and so on. I don't like using the word social when describing this media because it is actually antisocial
media.
It's unsocial. It results in suicide. It results in the worst abnegation, the worst assaults on vulnerable people. And when you're in that position, you're looking at how do I save myself, and then there's the survival issue, basic survival.
So basically, what we see really when we look at black people globally is these are wounded people. But these are also people who are on their toes and engaged in survival as individuals. Is that what we...
So there's almost a default position that the majority of us adopt. Take a nanosecond, do I respond to this? And how you process that, because it's something you are dealing with, and you can then affect somebody else in your environment and offload on them, but it comes from somewhere else. So once you recognize that, and you recognize it as an assault, and you recognize it as untoward, you already in the first step to liberating yourself from that influence. And however you engage with whoever you engage in the real and the online world, you will hold your own without allowing it to impact your sense of well-being, your psychology, your psyche, how you look at the world and how you look at yourself. You see abuse, and particularly racial, sexist, racist, and othering, sectarianism, narrow ideologies. When that happens and you get trapped in it, you're going to go into failure mode because you'll give up. Your psyche gives up to allow for this to happen, because nobody can just constantly fight each and every thing. That root lies in further harm and hypervigilance. And you can become paranoid, for instance, that everybody's out to get me. And there's a group of people, particularly who engage in online activity who are highly strung and who will snap at you and react at you because you become the closest to them and you will be the one to bear the fallout versus that person who's far away and unreachable directly. You know, in our country, you don't see the protests happening in white areas. It only happens in townships. And we call them townships.
Still.
But we, you know, and the physical reality, your own physical reality determines your level of well-being and resistance. So a few of us will resist it because we've done it for over a period of time. Sometimes we can lapse because we're so used to doing it, and then we can easily get seduced into perpetuating it in another way.
Thank you for tuning into this episode. In our next conversation, Professor Cooper will explore how to recognize and respond to gaslighting and why intentional psychological healing systems are so essential. If you enjoyed today's discussion, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast with others who might benefit. Until then, take care and goodbye.